Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm joined here with Matt today, and we're going to be looking at Beyond Eyes, which is a game by Tiger and Squid. It's actually their first game, and it's been published by Team 17. Matt, I think this is one that you were interested in, and I've been interested in it as well.
Yeah, no pun intended, but I've been keeping my eye on it for a while. But I haven't actually seen much of it since I believe they first. I think I showed some footage at E3, like after all the press conferences happened. But I haven't seen anything since then, and I haven't really been paying much attention since like a few months ago. But yeah, the concept sounds interesting to me at least.
That's it. I mean, it's out now. Let's go into it. I mean, we'll talk while the load screen's here. I've played about an hour of this so far, just over an hour. The game is itself 6 chapters long, and I am on chapter 4 at the moment, I believe. Let's just double check that. Yeah, so chapter 4 at the moment.
Do we know how many chapters there are, or like in total?
There's six chapters, so it's 2/3 of the way through it.
Oh wow! After an hour.
Yeah, apparently it can take around 3 hours to complete it, from what I've read. Let's have a quick look at the options menu though. Resolutions you can change. VSync, you can have it in windowed mode. It's not borderless windowed, it's just normal windowed. You've got music and sound effects sliders. You can change the camera. Now, as far as I can tell, that's how far the camera dips down. And you can invert the axis, and then you've got WASD to walk, and I changed interact from space to E because I just found that more natural.
One thing I have heard about the controls is apparently there can be some issues using a controller on the PC where the character walks on its own, and it's sort of like playing the game itself in a way, like it's walking without you controlling it. If you try to use like a gamepad for the PC, that might have been fixed, but I know that was a bug that someone had come across when it initially had come out. But yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, so I haven't had any issues controlling it with the keyboard. But this is like the basic story is you're playing this girl here, Ree, who's a 10-year-old girl, and something's happened to her. There was an accident, and she's lost all of her vision. Then while she was trying to just deal with life and like get life back in order, she met a cat who was sort of kept on running into her garden, and she named this cat Nani. And every now and again, like, it would come into the garden and just say hi to her, and she'd play about with it. And then all of a sudden, he stopped sort of visiting her. So she's gone on a quest to try and find her. Now, as you can probably see, like, the graphics in here are actually really nice. Like, you sort of walk along and it builds in all of the scenery as you go in.
Yeah, it has got quite a nice sort of feel to like the style of it, and the thing that initially attracted me about this game was how things gradually reveal themselves as you get towards them. And there was this whole thing that I believe that the developer actually when explaining about the game, said that you'll hear certain sounds, and based on what you remember those sounds being when you had your sight, that's what it'll make it out to look like in your head, but it could be something completely different. It's just that's the way that it's interpreted based on memory, because obviously that's what you can rely on. So
one of the very first things is like when you sort of go out of your garden and you come across a fountain, and then you find out, it's actually a sewage pipe. So there are some quite cool things like that. One of the things that has sort of bugged me is because it draws in the scenery, you do end up hitting a lot of walls. As you can see here, I've just hit a load of walls. And there's one part of the game where you need to try and retrieve something. And there's just loads of fences, and it just took me fucking forever, excuse the swearing there, to try and get around all of these fences to try and get this like item to retrieve it. So that's something that's not particularly fun, especially as she's got a really slow move speed. Now I understand like she's blind, and that's probably why she moves so slowly.
But once you've revealed areas of the world, as it were, do those stay revealed, or does it disappear after a while and you have to go back? Like, how does that work?
So once this stuff's revealed there, that will stay revealed for the remainder of this level, or the chapter. So when you start a new chapter, you'll get a load screen, and then you'll start again from like a blank canvas, and you start all over. Okay, so basically, like, we're trying to find the cat here, and
that's definitely not a cat.
No, but we've come across some seagulls, and like you can see, like every now and again you come across like animals, like sometimes there's dogs and stuff, and she gets sort of scared of them because there's just like these sounds.
It's also interesting how they sort of appear and disappear as they when they make a noise, they reappear again and they disappear. It's almost, it's sort of quite realistic in the fact that I would assume if you lost your sight, then you would be able to track things, but only where they were last heard. You wouldn't. So you have to keep on, every time it makes a new noise, you go, oh, that's where it came from. That must be where it is. So rather than just staying there, because that wouldn't really make much sense, would it? It'd be like, oh yeah, I know where it is now that I've heard it once.
Yeah, so like every now and again there'll be, I assume they're there to try and point you in the right direction, but there'll be like a bird or something that chirps, and it's almost like, oh, you need to go this way, and that sort of draws you there, and it flashes up and then disappears. But what I found is, like, because again, because of like the way it builds all of the environment, which is like cool in sort of like graphically, you can get like, I don't want to say lost, but you can lose your way, and if you go the wrong way and you find out you're in a dead end, which can happen sometimes, we'll probably find it soon. It takes forever to like get back into the area that you were because you move so slowly, which is a bit like I wouldn't say immersion breaking, but it's not fun in some ways.
Would you say that that's enough to sort of ruin the gameplay experience, at least for that session that you're playing in? Not the entire game, but that particular session, that particular chapter, getting constantly lost or hitting dead ends, is that something that is enough to sort of ruin the experience, or is it something that you can quite easily get over?
I mean, you can get over it, but I've personally, like, I found it like a bit boring to play because like once you make this mistake, it takes ages to try and find your way back to somewhere, or to try and find the right place that you're wanting to go. So that's something that I found an issue with, and it does feel like you're just holding down W a lot and rewalking some of the scenery. Now, I understand that the game is meant to be, again, like with a blind girl, so I can understand why, like, the mechanics in there. It just doesn't. It's not a good mechanic, I don't think.
But in terms of like
game,
in terms of like in terms of getting lost, is there this sense of you're always just urgently trying to go, like, between chapters? Look, I just want to find this cat. Or is there any, like with some of these other games, like, that don't have any kind of combat, or there's no sort of interactivity and you're just sort of walking around? Like everyone's gone to the Rapture as a recent one as well, as like Dear Esther, those sorts of games. Is there any sort of, I mean, how linear is it? Is there any kind of fit reason to go, oh, I'd quite like to, I know that we've got to go find Nani, but is there any kind of thing of like, oh, but I'd really like to explore this area over here because I heard some noises, or I heard some sounds in the distance, maybe that's worth going to check out? Like, it's not core to the story or the main game, but it's something that might be neat to sort of go and check? Or does it just try and keep you on that straightforward path to, like, we've just got to find this cat?
It tries to keep you on the sort of straightforward path. There is like the odd area where I think it's extra, like It's just there, but I think because of the mechanic and because of the fact you can get lost, like I'm not actually sure where I need to go at the moment. It kind of homes you in on a bit of a path. So like the issue that I'm having here, and as you can see, I've just like walked back and forth, is like this area is where we spawned in, like for this chapter, and you can see the sort of purple lines are there, and that's basically the purple lines, from what I gather, say you can't go any further than that. So you can't go back there. We can't get past the ducks or whatever they were, seagulls, because she's scared by the sounds. And we need to try and find another way around.
So it's almost, in a way, from the way you're explaining it, it sounds like almost as if you're kind of navigating your way through a maze. Obviously, this isn't a literal maze. This is like a town or a village or what have you. But it seems in the way of like the concept of it, of like the game design is, you've got to kind of go this path, then you've got to turn off somewhere else and eventually get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
But is there any interactivity? Like, you can't, obviously you're walking around with the world and you're looking at it and experiencing it visually, but is there any kind of level of interactivity where you can go up to something and do something with it or press something, or is it just sort of...
There's very minimal interactivity. So like I said before, there was like a retrieve quest. So I had to go and like pick something up, and there's like the odd like style you need to go over, or there's a couple of gates that you've had to open. But it's really, so far it's really minimal like interaction with things. I think it might be in that corner.
That's fair enough. I mean, it does, one thing logically speaking, it does seem to be quite ridiculous from you just walking around and seeing like on those benches, like you can't seem to just go over the simplest hurdle. Like, obviously you don't want to do some sick parkour because that would be quite dangerous without sight for a start. But the fact that she can't even climb over a bench, do you know what I mean? Like, you can't... Yeah. There's like the really small platforms. It's like, can't you not step on that? It just, I don't know, it seems a bit silly to me.
Yeah. I mean, like, just going back off to the scenery for a second. It's quite cool how you can like see through some stuff. So you can see the bridge over the other side, but when you go closer, I know there's an actual wall there, so it will bleed in. But it is quite cool how you can, like, if you've not found stuff, you can actually see the rest of the scenery. So I really love the aesthetics of it. But yeah, it's stuff like not being able to go over like little obstacles. Like, there was a fence that looked like it had fallen over, or it was like a low fence, and I was like, I would easily be able to climb over that if it were me. But obviously, like a little 10-year-old blind girl, it's not necessarily something that she would do like in the whole world.
I mean, there is also the fact that this is a 10-year-old walking around trying to find a cat, walking, quite considerable distances away from home, I presume. Where are her parents exactly? Like, does she have parents? Are they just neglecting her? Is she adopted? Like, I don't understand how she's able to walk along. Okay, there's two things. One, I don't understand how everywhere is like unpopulated. It's almost like everybody's gone to the Rapture combined with Beyond Ice.
No, I wouldn't say. I mean, you probably missed it. There was a guy like back there. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but the other point
there
is
are
just
the odd
like,
people.
It's just like, who would let their 10-year-old just walk, off like that?
Yeah, I mean that is one thing that see that's quite cool. We thought it was a car, but in actual fact it's a truck.
Yeah, that's like the developer was saying about sometimes.
Yeah.
I think the example that the developer actually used, she said that it's something. For example, you might hear like something. You might think it's a river, and there's like a little mini waterfall, but actually it's a sewage pipe pumping out.
Yeah, that's one of the very first things you see, actually. Yeah, but just going back to the fact you're talking about the parents, it doesn't really explain it. It has a really brief intro to the fact that she's got an injured, that's a dead end, and she's got this cat, and you sort of wander around the garden in this sort of prologue for a bit. And then suddenly she's going out through a gate because she's not scared anymore, because she wants to sort of look around the world to try and find this cat. And at no stage is there the parents there, but I don't really think that's the point of the game.
Oh yeah, I mean that's literally just picking hairs at like the logic of it and stuff, which whether that should matter is probably not. It probably shouldn't be that big of a deal, but it's just sort of a funny observation, really. But like in terms of this cat, like how I think the thing with these sort of games with exploration where you're just walking around trying to get from point A to point B, but discovering things along the way, is you need like a good sort of motive or story backing it to sort of keep you compelled and beg for that exploration. Does that kind of come across in Beyond Eyes? Like, how bothered are you about finding this cat? How gripping is it to be like, oh, we almost got the cat this time, or oh, I think it was like, is that quite a compelling thing, or is it sort of very?
I have to say, I haven't particularly been invested with the story. Like there was one section where you help out another little girl, and you're saying, oh, because I've helped you. Oh, we can't go back that way because there's now a truck there. So I was trying to get back to where the birds were. But yeah, it was like, oh, I've helped you out. Now can you help me out find the cat? And literally this girl just responds, oh, I think it could be that way. Points in a random direction. It's like, right, That was fucking.
Wait, she points in a direction.
Useless.
How exactly is that going to help our character?
It's like,
she went.
Okay.
It went that way. Yeah, I can't actually see where you're pointing. Can you not understand the situation?
So I mean, it's nice that there's a dog that's going to block us from going that way. But it's nice that there is like a little story in there. But I just don't think it's fleshed out enough, and I don't care enough about it.
I mean, that's the thing is that what you really want in these kind of... Sometimes you'll play a game and it will be very sort of black and white, like you're this character and you're trying to stop the bad guy, or you're trying to find this person, or what have you, and you think, oh, that's like very sort of, straightforward, there's not much story. And then as you play it, you realise there's more layers to it, and there's more, especially with these types of games usually, it's like you realise that there's more than what... there's more to it really than you initially thought, like, oh, this is part of a bigger picture sort of thing. And if you haven't really got that, it's like, well, I already know everything about what we're trying to do. Maybe there's some bits in between, but what you really need is having extra layers that you didn't initially thought were there story-wise, that you gradually sort of peel away at and find out about as you play along.
Yeah, no, I don't think this... Unless it shows up in the at the end of this chapter or the next couple, I don't think it's there. I mean, I could be wrong about it, but so far what I've played, it's not really... It's a very simple story. God damn it.
It's almost like an experimental type game of like, just... What would a game be like if we took away your ability to see, you had to rely on other senses, more sort of like a curiosity, the game's sort of more designed around the curiosity of playing through a game that, mixes the playstyle up and sort of what's based around more than anything else.
I'm trying to get to the other side of this fence, but there's a fucking fence in the way, so I can't get there, so I'm going to have to find another way around. I don't think I'm the right demographic for this game. I think that's why I've been potentially getting frustrated with it. I don't think it's the type of game for me, and I'm kind of a bit sad at that, really, because I saw this and I thought I just really loved the aesthetic of it, and I just really wanted to like it, but I just don't find myself liking it as much as I want to.
I think that's a fair enough point. But what I was going to say is just that the thing that made me appreciate this game from face value, like immediately hearing about it and seeing gameplay, was just that it was a refreshing idea, and it's quite innovative because I don't think I've seen another game where it sort of says, okay, you're playing as a blind girl who has to rely on sounds around her to, find what she's looking for and sort of navigate her way around. Like, I feel like it's a fresh take, but then part of me is like, I like the idea, but the execution, I kind of want a more fleshed out experience. Now that might just be like me and you, like that, like we're a different audience, that we want just like a more fleshed out experience. But maybe part of the beauty behind this game is that the people it's aimed at is the simplicity of it, because not everybody wants like to kind of get overwhelmed by, loads of layers of story. Nobody wants to kind of have to be really heavily invested with loads of busy work or stuff to do. They just want a simple thing they can go, I'm just going to walk through, like, look at the nice surroundings and sort of, enjoy the aesthetics and just, the game design for it, really.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what Beyond Eyes is aimed at. I think the type of people that enjoy like I don't want to really call it a pure walking simulator, but that's what it feels like. Like I know it's meant to be more than that, and I feel like it gives you an appreciation of what blind people might be going through, especially like a 10-year-old going through all of this sort of trauma, losing their eyesight at such a young age. And I kind of appreciate it for that, but I think that's as far as my appreciation of it goes.
These sort of games, they're very hit and miss with their audience, It's sort of one of those things. They're either your type of games or they're not. Some people, like Gone Home is the perfect example. Gone Home, some people say like that's the greatest game on earth. It is a gift that was given to us from the gods of heaven. There are others who say that the game is complete garbage and is just a pointless walking simulator. There's two extremes. And with the same, just like this game as well, it's very hit and miss with its audience. Some people it's going to really strike a chord with. There's even going to be people who are in this situation themselves, potentially, or maybe they know somebody who's gone through this, is what I mean. Sorry, that was sort of a stupid way of putting it. But like, my point is they might be able to relate to this girl's situation by either somebody who's a family member or a friend, or they might just be curious as to sort of what would that be like, so that people can sort of get a greater idea as to how difficult it might be. Maybe the whole point of getting lost and sort of making it difficult to navigate through and sort of not realizing there's walls there, or sort of not being as easy as it normally would. Maybe that is the whole point, because, realistically in real life, it's going to be really difficult to sort of, to have that limitation of having a lack of sight. It's going to be difficult in real life, so why not make it frustrating and difficult in the game? Maybe that's sort of what it's going for.
I think we're going to leave it there, Matt. It's been Beyond Eyes. It's available on PC and it's also on Steam for £9.99 or your regional equivalent. Thanks very much for joining me in this experience.
That's all right.
And we'll see everyone next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.